order for the Common Council of the City of Milton for December 15th at 7 p.m. And confirmation of the appropriate meeting notice.
The meeting was noticed here at City Hall, the Piggly Wiggly, and Dave's Ace Hardware.
Thank you. And we're going to adjust the agenda just a little bit. We're going to move the school district presentation up to, we'll move it to number 4, so they'll be right after the library presentation. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved with those changes.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we have an agenda. So item number 3, presentation and discussion and possible action regarding the site plan for the library. So if you could come up to the podium, please.
So what, just kind of a lead in as they're preparing themselves, what we have tonight is a presentation by the library board. I'm sure everybody knows Bill Wilson, but they also brought the architect with them tonight to talk about what the plan is for the library, talk about scheduling of the library project, and they've provided us some pictures and some site plans to talk about. We'll have some of them up on the screen, and some of them it looks like they've got on poster board there. So with that, take it away.
All right.
Take it away, Hall of Famer.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bill Wilson. I'm president of the Milton Public Library Board. We know you have a long agenda tonight, so we're not going to take much of your time, but we thought in addition to reviewing the site plan, we'd just give you a little bit of an update on where we are and some idea on the schedule for actual construction. To date, we're over $2.2 million, so we've been able to take the $900,000 investment of the city and raise about $1.3 million additional dollars at this point. Dollars are still coming in. We had about $150 of either pledges or gifts last week. We had $150,000 of monies pledged before that actually came in cash this week. So dollars are still coming into the campaign at a pretty good clip, and we would anticipate that year-end giving will also spur some folks on. There's some gifts that have been, sort of on the fence, commitments, but no dollars in hand yet that might be tipped over the edge. I would like to give you a little insight into the actual schedule. Hazardous materials assessment actually took place this week, so core samples were taken of various areas throughout the building. We should have that report soon and know where we are in terms of any abatement work that needs to be done on hazardous materials. Bid documents, library staff met with the architects today. Howie was there for a while as well, and we went through in detail lots of the interesting facets down to what kinds of door hardware and which side of the door has to lock and so on for door openings. So we're pretty far into the facilities development, and in fact bid documents are in preparation. Expectation is the dollar flow will allow us to go out to bids end of February, bids awarded in March. We anticipate actual construction beginning in April of 2016, and if we're able to meet those targets, that should allow for completion by this time next year. So December 31st, 2016, we think we're going to be in the position to open the library. I'd like to show you just a couple of pictures. That's something that you recognize. There's the new front for the library, and we wanted to show you this simply to illustrate why it was felt that a new entry to the library was necessary. The library really currently has no street presence. It, of course, was built as the Milton College Library and was oriented towards the green for the college, not towards High Street. You may recall that there was a grandeur tower type of affair on the corner. That was deemed to be not feasible in terms of dollars and cents. When we started to take a look at what seemed to make sense, we still did want to have an entry presence that would bring the traffic in from the High Street side, and this is the appearance that we'll end up with a new entry. The entry that comes in from the green on the side on the be the east side. That entry eventually will be closed, and this will serve as the main entry. These are the current, very close to the current plans for the main floor and the second floor of the library. Some very, very exciting things. We've really been able to engage the community in a big way in our efforts to raise dollars. Milton College Preservation Society is involved. Some of you may be aware of the success that we've had with the agriculture community. We really identified the ag community as one that the library hadn't had strong connections with in the past. Got some people together to help us really understand what might motivate the ag community, agribusiness, as well as family farmers to participate. Set a goal of about $150,000, and I think we're going to hit $250,000 from the ag community. Lots of local businesses involved, the Children's Creative Play Space, businesses that you'll recognize like Piggly Wiggly, Dave's Ace Hardware, Badger Veterinary Clinic, both of the banks, in fact, three of the four banks have contributed $15,000 at this point. We're still awaiting to hear from the recent arrival of Parker Credit Union, but lots and lots of contributions that are really significant and sizable. We have received several large gifts. There'll be a large gift that is accounted for in the roughly $2.2 million that I mentioned we've raised at this point. A gift of $500,000 that will be announced probably this coming week. The draft of the press release went out to the donors for their approval, and in fact, a good portion of that money has already been received. So, great progress there as well. Thanks. Area on the left-hand side is just a sketch of what the Milton College Preservation Area will look like. So we'll have a local history area really keen to Milton College. Lower right-hand corner is the artist sketch that you may have seen in the Courier of the Children's Creative Play Space. Each of the little hands-on creative play spaces is being sponsored by a company in town. So you see a couple of trade names that appear there. We've also gotten several from what might be thought of as Janesville businesses. Culver's is in for one of the storefronts. Johnson Tractor is in for one of the storefronts. So, and really that ag theme, the farm to table idea, is what has helped us get there. Next slide. Upper left-hand corner shows the new appearance of, this would be the entry area near the desk. On the right-hand side of the photo on the left is the new Spark Lab area, the hands-on facility, doing a lot of programming, especially for teens, but the Spark Lab will be there for both teens and adults, again, hands-on learning. Photo on the lower right-hand corner there is the new high-tech conference room that will be in place. Chamber of Commerce is very excited about that facility. It's going to be equipped so that organizations will be able to do webinars, go-to-meeting type presence, and so on. So a really terrific meeting room for about 30 people. Next. These are both children's areas. The lower left-hand corner is the children's story area. On the right-hand side is the concept for the children's computer area. We're going to have an ag theme in the children's room, and so we're actually going to be incorporating something that is sort of inspired by the restaurant that's shown on the far right. Essentially a grain elevator, a grain silo over the top of the children's computer area. So, and there you can see there's also a silo in the picture with the story area and sort of a shed roof front in the area that's housing the picture books and so on. So those are just a few pictures. Purpose for being here tonight, we did want to give you that update, but Greg's going to talk a little bit about the site plan and what will unfold basically on the outside of the building.
Good evening, Greg Baum with FEH Design. We are the architects for the project. The site plan that you see in front of you here really is going to show what's going on with the site. High Street is on the bottom of the page, and the parking lot will remain in its current configuration right above that. And that entry that Bill had shown you, that the illuminated night shot, is the little kind of brown or gray box on the right-hand side of the existing building that's shown in gray. So you can see the footprint of the new addition is fairly minimal. It's only about 350 square feet, but the visibility that it's going to give and the presence it's going to give inside, looking into the library itself, is going to be very, very dynamic. As far as the site goes, there are going to be some modifications made to the landscaping. The city is going to be taking down a couple of the trees in the courtyard directly to the east of the building. They are ash trees that are scheduled to come down. So those will be taken down by the city prior to when the construction for the project starts. That space that Bill referred to as the commons, or the green space for the college there, will be used as an outdoor programming space for the library. It will remain in a grassy type fashion, but because there's a kind of a built-in hillside, that will be developed with agricultural themes and be used for library programming during decent weather. So that space will be utilized. As far as the parking lot itself, the only disruption to the parking lot really will be the addition of a new front door with a ramp and a new set of stairs. There will be a new water service that will be brought into the building so the building can be sprinkled to meet fire codes. That'll be done directly from High Street into the front entrance of the building on the lower level. So that'll be patched and be brought back up to current status. As far as lighting goes, we're going to be proposing some new light fixtures that are low cutoff light fixtures for the parking lot that will give it a good consistent illumination, and the existing light fixtures that are mounted on some telephone poles will be taken down. And signage for the new library will be actually on the face of the canopy of the building, so there won't be any other site, so to speak, signage that'll be shown. This will be illuminated signs right on the canopy of the building. So with that, I'd ask if there's any questions that you have about what's being proposed.
I was just wondering, could you, excuse me, could you elaborate a little bit on the ag portion? I know we had one of our local vets that have also decided that they were going to contribute to that. So could you kind of expand on that a little bit? I think it's something that the council will be very interested to hear.
Sure, there are a couple of pieces to the ag component. I mentioned the mini storefronts. This is an idea that's patterned after a very successful project that was done by a library in Maryland. Theirs was not with an agriculture theme, but this idea of almost a children's museum component of hands-on learning. And it's turned out to be an extremely popular kind of an idea. And in fact, we've been a little worried that we've oversold the storefronts. We think we've settled in at just about the right number of the storefronts. The idea really is offering opportunities for kids to learn through hands-on activities. So things like counting, things like colors, things like numbers. So that area really is geared towards the preschool child and their parents. Those of you who've been on the council for a while probably remember that when we first started talking about this several years ago, one of our goals was to create the public library as a destination in Milton, in part in reaction to the bypass. And this component really does fit into that category. Once we started getting those gifts, there really started to be a buzz. I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the 100 Women campaign that was really our kickoff at the beginning, where we tried to encourage 100 women to pledge $1,000 over a 5-year period of time. Last count, I think we were up to 159, even though lots of folks thought getting 100 was going to be a difficult task. That kind of same buzz got created with the agriculture campaign. We were able to do an auction. Bob Johnson did an auction for us out at Lucy's Hideaway. I was going to say the Owl's Nest at Lucy's Hideaway. That event netted about $35,000 in total, including about 15 donors that on the spot donated, with a little cajoling from our auctioneer, $1,000 apiece to have their name appear on a donor mural in the agriculture area. So family farmers, some of the folks on our agriculture committee have been active in going out and soliciting donors from family farms, really with the idea that the library is going to become a place that is going to capture some of that agriculture history and make sure that some of the history is not forgotten. That also involves other aspects of the community. FFA alumni pledged $15,000, $12,500, I guess. The current FFA kids have pledged dollars over a 5-year period to the project as well. We've developed new partnerships with those kinds of organizations to help us out with programming ongoing. And I think it was that recognition that really spurred that whole initiative to none of us anticipated how great that success has been. It's been just tremendous. And that's been our experience throughout. Good.
Anybody else? Any further questions? Thank you so much for your updates. It's so exciting. That was such a great picture of the reconstructed front entrance that's really going to have an impact from the street. And I think it just says so much about our community that we can rally around such a great project that will add so much value to our lifestyle and what we have to offer citizens when they come to live here. So thank you very much.
We'll have the site plan available at the library if anybody wants to stop by and take a look at it.
Okay, and the school district, I'm sorry, it's probably a hard act to follow because you're not going to have all those pretty pictures. But we have Tim Steiger, the city of the Milton School District Superintendent, and John Cruzan, the president of the school board, to present on the city of the Milton East proposal to address some serious traffic congestion. So
Right.
Thank you very much for coming.
Well, thank you for having us, and I brought the boss. So, what we'd like to do is talk about the a joint effort to work on the parking and traffic situation over at Milton East Elementary School. We've obviously for a number of years the pick up and drop off congestion is a struggle, and with that we would like to propose changing the configuration of the space over there based on some plans that the city had developed earlier a few years back. And the reason for the proposal now is with the demolition of the old police building, it gives us an opportunity to try to change that situation now. It didn't make sense while the old police building was up. And so we're clear with this piece. What I had sent to Al and to Anise earlier, weeks ago, the bullet points really talk about East and the safety and that plan. We are not here to talk at all about any kind of complex or any of those kinds of things. This is strictly about the parking situation, about moving forward with the plan for that only. And with that, what we'd like to do is bring up you have the picture there, and you should have that as well. You probably are all familiar with this plan, where there'd be a closing of Greenman, there'd be the paving of a new parking lot. I think it's about 18 or 19 stalls, Al, of new parking, but it'd be about a 75, 78 total stall, not in addition to, it's about 18 or 19 new stalls there along Parkview. This plan is a plan that was adopted by the city a few years back. We love the idea of having two separate entrances, one for cars coming off of Parkview and buses coming off of Old 26. We feel that the configuration is a good one for us for logistical purposes. Also, being that the plan is already approved in the sense of at least the site design, not necessarily the specifics of the construction, but at least knowing that there's a plan to complete Goodrich Square, it makes sense to use something that's existing that the community has already bought into per se. And so what we're here to do is to look for approval to continue working with the city to put together an RFP to look at how to get this thing put together and built. Because 80+% of this is school district property, the school district would take on the cost of this project. We obviously need a city to be a partner in this because it does involve a city street as well as some city property where the old police department was. And so hence the reason for us wanting to partner, and of course, steal your plans as well. And so I guess with that, maybe if John has anything to add.
We're just very interested in working collaboratively with the city when opportunities present, and even to create opportunities that maybe we haven't seen yet. This has landed on us. The police department, the old police department's gone, and it's kind of propitious that this has occurred, and we're in a position in the school district that we could help make this happen, but we really can't do it by ourselves. We really need to partner with the city to help the city fulfill that master plan and solve that safety issue down at Milton East. So,
right, we did our strategic plan last year and our community survey a year ago. One of the top 3 priorities was safety and security, and so we've addressed that in some places. But this would be a great way to address it, especially for our youngest population over here in town. And so, with this opportunity, or this potential opportunity, that's why we're bringing it to the city to seek approval to continue the dialogue and hopefully come up with some RFPs during the winter time. So if this project were to happen, that the city and the school district, buildings and grounds and public works can work together to put together something and get this project done for the community.
Questions? Nancy, you look like you have a
Yes,
question.
I do have a question. Have you done a survey of parking needs? Because I spent many months working on a house across the street and did not see, except for school pickup and school drop-off, any need for parking. What have you done how have you surveyed that need?
We're specifically talking about the pickup and drop-off time. We know that I've been over there numerous times watching people park on the bank lawn illegally within the road. That's the time that we are most concerned with. There's parking there for staff, And there is parking at times for visitors, not necessarily during the Christmas program, or those types, or conference nights. They're parked all over the place. But for us, really, it is about the pickup and drop-off time, and how can we alleviate that? This plan gets the buses and the cars away from each other, which is very appealing to us. When we design other routes at other buildings, like at the middle school and the high school, we try to keep the buses and the cars separate. It's difficult at East with the way it's currently set up. So as far as the parking need for during the school day, it's pretty adequate. But
Yeah, because that was, I was puzzled because I had not seen need for additional parking. So you're simply focused on the bus routes, and if you had, yeah, and that is, the parking is secondary.
absolutely.
Okay.
I have a question about the actual busing. I know in previous years, the bus routes have changed. Some have been added, some have been taken away. Do you anticipate a lot of changes as far as the busing for the school district to where this would be affected?
No, we don't foresee at this time. We have looked with the addition of our 4K program and with additional sites, we've added a few routes. But as far as our elementary routes, those are not affected at this time. We do have the highest enrollment ever, so the buses are fuller, but we don't anticipate at this time to have more buses. And so, but again, where they are currently at the time of pickup and drop-off especially, we've looked at other areas, like do we have the buses drop off on Old 26? We've looked at other options. This one seems to be the most put together, and although nothing guarantees 100% safety, this gives us, we feel, the highest probability of making the environment safer.
At your last public meeting, you talked about maybe closing some schools and building a new one and doing some of those things. Would this be one of those schools that you might possibly close or not use, that you would, until you know for sure, go into a parking lot?
At this time, and at no time, we have not considered closing any of the schools. We have talked about if there's a new high school built, there might be some reconfiguration, perhaps a building might be vacated, but not at this time. Definitely not the elementary schools at this point. There's not been that discussion, and to my knowledge, East has never been discussed as ever being a potential for closure.
Well, I guess I should have said relocation. But-
Sure. Yeah, we do not have, unless the city is planning on buying it, we don't have a, joke, don't print that. We have never anticipated closing East Elementary School ever. And so that's why we also feel that by completing this plan, it kind of solidifies what the larger plan for the city, as well as it fits our needs as a school district. And because it'd be a one-time purchase per se of the construction, we feel it's in our best interest to make this happen, and we have the ability to make that happen.
One more thing about the parking. Would it be possible to not put as many parking places and leave some green space? This is, granted, you have the lot to use up, but green space is nice.
I think that being that this is the city plan, we chose this because we feel this would probably be the most, and this is the one that was most recently discussed at the city level. Of course, developing the actual site plan and what the construction plan would look like can include different things, of course. But this, we took this because it was existing, and the city already had approved it. And then it saved us time of trying to develop something as a concept. But of course, as a final plan, I'm sure that as a group, Howie and Steven can work some of that out. We can talk about more green space or less green space or whatever. That's obviously all on the table still.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question. Have you shared this plan with Parker Credit Union, and if so, what was their reaction to the change in no exit to Parkview Drive?
We have, at this point, we have not had discussion with them. There still is this current plan has access from the back of their parking lot to Greenman. And as far as the location there, they have the green space in front, and then they have on the north side there. But again, without having conversation with the group here, we'd want to have we want to have some kind of pre-approval here so that Al and I could have those conversations. But we thought it'd be best from a process to come talk to the entities first before we went and talked to anyone else who might be affected.
Okay, so if they, out of their back lot, their access to Greenman would then be toward 26.
Correct.
They couldn't come out to Parkview unless they went
Correct.
through.
According to this plan, absolutely.
Went through their own parking lot against
They could circle back.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
This plan was really, this was put in place when that building was empty. And it seems like maybe, excuse me, the thoughts at that time were that maybe there was not going to be somebody coming into that building. I would really like just to hear what the bank has to say about it. And then another thing that I would like to know, and I'm sure that somebody can tell me, if you could just show me on the screen exactly where the school property line is.
You can see my mouse traveling.
Okay.
It runs back. Everything's south or below. This is the dotted line for the property.
Okay. I see. Okay.
I do want to point out, though, that this was designed with the idea that that building would be reused.
It
And
was.
would need more
Oh,
parking.
yes.
And would need more parking.
Yes. Exactly.
The parking is rather overwhelming for your daily needs, for the school.
Just so I'm clear, are you anticipating that parking would be used during drop-off and pickup before school and after school, or?
There would be some pickup and drop off there. Obviously, we'll have staff members parking there as well, because that would be the parking lot for the school. But the expanded number of stalls would benefit the downtown business area as well, especially when school's not in session, but there would be additional parking there during the school day. But when cars come in, obviously some teachers would park there. We would have, as families line up and drop off on the south end or southwest end there, you can see that little curve or that little circle there. So we anticipate cars coming there, dropping off and exiting. We have to work out the logistics of the flow as far as cars parking and dropping off from the lot. But again, those would be good problems to have if we know that there's space there. And again, this plan, we're starting with this plan because this is a plan that the city developed. It can obviously be altered, but what we really like is having the buses and the cars separated.
I mean, I just want to make sure that everybody on the council understands that the main goal is to have the buses and the parents' vehicles separated, and some of these other things certainly could be adjusted as far as stalls or green space, but that's really the main focus, and that's really the main safety issue, because there's so much congestion there. There really is a high risk of potential harm for kids in that specific areas of the bus and the cars, and that's what we're really focusing on right now. Just because maybe there isn't accidents every year happening or people aren't getting hurt, because of the congestion, it puts people's safety at risk. That's how I interpret it, if I'm misspeaking.
Well, and that's why we're here the school board is committed to doing the best we can, or it can, to avoid situations that people get hurt. And this plan, maybe this isn't the final version when it's all said and done, but it's a starting point, and it's a starting point that the city had approved earlier a couple years ago, and that's why we're using this as opposed to creating something else. It can obviously be altered. To whatever degree, but we really like the idea of having cars and buses separated.
So, excuse me, basically, what we all agree on pretty much is the big bus turnaround and the small car turnaround, where I'm questioning is the 73 slot public parking lot. So with I will completely agree with the two turnarounds. The rest of it should be more conversation about.
Sure.
I think what we're primarily looking for tonight is for the council to approve us to go further into the discussions with the school district and come up with a plan. And certainly we can look at the parking and talking to the bank and everything, but we can't do anything, further than what we have in front of us without some direction for Al and I to continue working with the school district, which I think, if anybody's driven throughout the city during school start, there's congestion everywhere. So in the areas where we can partner with the school district to make things better, I think we have a responsibility and an obligation to do that. And this is one area where we can hopefully help alleviate congestion. And so I would be looking for a motion to direct Al and I to work further with the school district to come up with a final plan. Is that what you're looking for? Okay.
I think so.
Is this something that is going to go to Plan Commission also?
Yeah, ultimately, and I think everybody's touched on it a number of times. This plan was technically, this plan was approved and adopted by the city council. This is the Goodrich Square plan. This plan that we've been referenced a number of times is a plan that was developed for the redevelopment of the bank. Regardless of what we do moving forward, it's going to look different than this. For example, if you look at this, this map shows the, I'm sorry, I can't scroll it down any further, but this map shows shows the splash pad in a completely different location than it currently is. So what Tim has said a number of times, what Anissa said a number of times, is that we have this plan and this gives us a good place to start. And we'll build from this. And regardless of what we have, what we come up with, we're going to need to work with Howie, we're going to need to work with the school district, we're going to need to work with PCCU, we're going to need to work with the business owners across the street, the principal at East, folks not only on Parkview but on Janesville Street. So this will be a very public process. And yes, ultimately it would have to come back to Plan Commission because it would be the adoption of a new plan. It would be the vacation of a street. It would be creating new driveway openings. It'd be creating potentially new public parking lots. So this is really the first step in the process to achieve the goal of creating greater safety at Milton East. And I can promise you, it will look different than this. Just like pretty much any plan that comes forward that's adopted has tweaks on it. So the Plan Commission will review it and the council will approve it at the end of the day.
And so will the school district.
Yeah, exactly.
We all have to agree.
This project is inherently intertwined based on the city's public infrastructure that exists there. Greenman Street would need to be vacated, the public parking lot that currently exists, and the city's land where the police department exists. To Nancy's point, will it require additional parking? I think that would be part of the process that we would work with our engineers and with the school district engineers to see what is the adequate amount of parking necessary. Because I would agree with you, and I know the Parks and Rec Committee would agree with you. Let's try to maximize the green space if possible. but we still need to meet the needs of the businesses and the schools in that area. So maybe it doesn't end up being 19 new stalls, maybe it only ends up being 10 new stalls. Or maybe with the reconfiguration of it, maybe we don't need to create any new stalls, but we need to just reconfigure the lots as they currently exist. But as Tim has said a couple of times, this is a great starting place. This is a plan that most of the folks up here have seen, the folks at the school district, school board I know have seen, and you know, it's a good place to start. So it would be a very public process moving forward with the goal in mind of creating a safer environment. And as Tim has pointed out, it's really about decreasing those conflicts between the buses and the traffic that is existing. If you go down Greenman Street right now, cars are competing with buses, and this plan really starts to eliminate that to the best that we can. And so it's a good place to start, and the process would just be kind of beginning here today. I mean, Tim and I have had a number of conversations. I know the school board has as well, and those are all kind of leading to this idea of, all right, this seems like it can work. This seems like everybody kind of recognizes the fact that this is a problem. Well, let's get together and see what we can do.
So there's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion?
I would like for TLC to also be part of the
Sure.
conversations. Sure. Because the Greenman Street is right at the corner of their business, and I know they have cars that come and go, and I'm sure that they have been using Greenman Street.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time tonight.
All right, so now we're on the wheel number 4. Public comments regarding items which can be affected by council action. I don't think there's anybody registered to speak. Anybody want to stand up right now? Nope. Okay, great. Yes? Oh, I turned away and Lance shot up his hand.
Going once, going twice.
Get up there, Lance, come on.
Thank you. I'm just going to make a comment with the last presenters. I think if the parking and the street for Milton East, which there is a problem, and I agree there is a need for some parking for some, you know, like the chicken barbecue and everything. But I do not think if it's public parking for businesses, I think the city has obligation to at least partly fund. You know, I don't think it'd be, well, the school district has a big pot of gold and, you know, the school district funds it all. You know, I think this is a joint effort for a joint problem, and I think it should be addressed that way. And that's just my comment, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all right, you guys, this is your last chance to shoot up your hands. Thanks, Lance, I appreciate your comments. Item number 5, approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve this consent agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries to approve the consent agenda. Item number 6, discussion and possible action to authorize the appointment of election officials for the election cycle of January 2016 to December of 2017. Alena?
So it is that time of year again. We need to appoint the election officials for the next election cycle, which is a 2-year cycle. So it'll cover January of 2016 to December of 2017. The names that you see on the memo are the people that I have volunteered so far. We're still looking for more people. The Courier did a nice story on it. So, but for right now, these are the election officials that we have.
So if somebody wants to volunteer, they can throw out any?
Absolutely.
Okay. So up until the day before an election?
Right.
Or, all right. Just so you know, there City of Milton residents, do they have to be residents
They
of the
do
city? of
not, they
Milton?
just have to be Rock County residents now.
So here we go. Anybody in Rock County that wants to be an election volunteer, there's unlimited opportunities for you to give back to your greater community. So spread the word out there. Here's an opportunity. I think I talked about this in my newsletter that went out with the tax bills. Like there's always these little opportunities for people to get involved. And it doesn't mean you have to volunteer for every single election. You could just say, hey, I'm going to do this election, or I'm going to do 2 hours at this election, right?
Yep, very flexible.
Okay, great. Thanks. So we need a motion?
Yes.
So do I have a motion to authorize the appointment of election officials for the election cycle of January of 2016 to December of 2017? Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Is there an age limit? Do you have to be 18?
No, the high school students can also do it.
Okay, so perfect. Item number 7, discussion and possible action on adopting the preliminary Public Works Resolution 2015-28 concerning the assessment of water mains for the 2015-2016 water main installations for the south high pressure easement areas. Howie.
Okay, you have a memo in your packet. To have assessments or possible assessments, we need a public works resolution passed. This allows the city to conduct a public hearing concerning possible water main assessments. And if you pass a resolution, we would have the public hearing then in January. That's when we have it planned. And then at that time, the council determines assessments or deferred assessments or how you would like to assess. The ordinance allows for assessment for water mains, but you have the public hearing to determine what you want to do at that time. So I was just asking if you pass the public works resolution, then we can set up the public hearing for assessments.
Is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt resolution 2015-28 and schedule a hearing for potential assessments.
And a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries. Item number 8. Discussion and possible action on adopting the preliminary Public Works Resolution 2015-29 concerning the assessment of water mains for the 2015-2016 water main installations for Janesville Street and Bower Lake Road.
And this is you received a separate memo for this. They were bid out as 2 separate projects, so that's why there's a separate resolution for each project. It's the same possibility where you hold a public hearing to determine if you want to have water main assessments.
Is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt resolution 2015-29 and schedule a public hearing for potential assessments.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries. Item number 9, discussion and possible action on report on terms of amended and restated lease of public property located in tax incremental districts number 6 and number 7 given to Common Council.
This was the item that was discussed during the CDA. So this would be the final approval from the city council in regards to the restated CDA lease bonds of $8.845 million. So this would be the final approval necessary for the council for the sale of those bonds.
Is there a motion? Second. There's a motion and a second. Any questions or further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. Item number 10.
You're not gonna read all that?
I just like keep thinking I'm repeating the same thing that I keep
No,
saying.
this item is the actual resolution. This is the piece of action that we need to have approved by the council that we would forward on to then the groups that are purchasing the bonds. So this would be the official action by resolution that would approve the amended and restated lease for
Okay.
those bonds.
Discussion and possible action regarding Resolution 2015-31, a resolution approving the amended and restated lease of certain property and improvements by the city and approving the issuance of 1.845 million community development lease revenue refunding bonds series 2016-8 by the authority and related documents and transactions. Does anybody understand that?
You have the lady here to explain.
I'll make a motion.
Would you like her to explain?
I'm fine. Does anybody else like her to explain?
Folks have questions? Maureen's here.
Questions, concerns? Motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 2015-31.
That's great.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
You get a double second on that.
All right, you guys. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries. Item number 11, we already did at 4. So discussion and possible action regarding a proposal by Charter Spectrum for City of Milton advertising.
Attached in your packet was a proposal that was brought forth by Charter Spectrum. This proposal was put forth to the Tourism Committee, who worked with Charter Spectrum to develop the 2016 ad campaign for the city of Milton. If you remember last year, the city council approved the creation of a 30-second television ad that was seen on a variety of channels throughout last summer. Where the tourism committee is looking to do that again this year, and it actually expand their reach to additional channels that more people watch, myself, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. So not only does it expand the reach as far as channels, it expands the reach as far as geography, and also has a digital component to it as well. That digital component will allow it to be seen on YouTube and things of that nature, and it's very location specific. Your computer is much smarter than we'd all like to admit, and it knows when you're at a terminal that's within a 53563 zip code, the likelihood is that you're going to see this ad pop up before you get to watch your cute cat video or whatever you're going to watch it on YouTube that day. So this whole package includes the expansion of the television ad to a larger geographic area, expands it to additional channels that have a wider reach, as well as the digital component. Last year, we were able to produce the ad and put it on television for a total cost of $3,000. This year, we don't need to produce the ad. The ad's already been produced, so that's how we're able to expand its reach and its television channels. And for an additional $1,000, we create that digital component of it. The tourism committee's budget was approved for $5,000 this year. That's why they were able to set that $4,000 value on there, leaving in $1,000 extra for the Rock County Tourism Guide in 2017. So that would be the entirety of the tourism budget, but they were able to expand this portion of the charter television and digital advertising campaign in 2016, and then this, with the council's approval, we could sign that agreement and start that process in order to get those ads on television in the spring, and the digital ads would come around the same time, if not before. We'll include those that donut component that folks utilized last year for Civil War days and chicken barbecue and things of that nature. So it's really the same as last year, plus.
And they were at the park, at the tree lighting, filming too. So they have even some more footage to put in that donut hole. Just an FYI. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion or questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Item number 13, our next meeting will be Tuesday, January 5th in 2016 at 7 p.m. At that time, we are going to do a little goal setting with the council. So I'm giving you a lot of heads up to work on this over the holiday, to think about what are your personal goals for the council for next year, things that you would like to see us work on, expand on. If you are chairpersons of committees or commissions, this would be something that you could include with them as far as what you would like to do as the chair of your committee or commission or whatever. So that will be just a heads up on our next agenda. General items. Mayor and alderperson reports. We'll start with Dave, And then we'll go to Jeremy. Maxine. Linda.
I would just like to thank all of the people who were involved in the tree lighting ceremony and the school, for the students coming and painting our downtown windows. I would like to thank the Park and Rec Commission for their donation to start off the tree lighting. So we now have purchased these lights, and next year we can build on more. And I've had a lot of people give me good compliments about it. It was a great community event. We had a wonderful author that came and read to the kids, and the scouts had just incredible hot chocolate.
That's what I heard.
It
was out of this world.
It was like smooth, and it was yummy. Anyway, I just want to thank all of those people that helped get that going, and I especially want to thank Linda Labor, because she was the one who pretty much spearheaded the whole event, and our volunteers are important.
Thank you, Linda. Nancy?
I'm fine, thank you.
Teresa?
Yes, and I also want to thank Linda Clark for her work in putting together the winter tree lighting activity. That was a lot of work on your part as well, so thank you. And just a brief update regarding the policy committee and where we're at. We had been working on a project for policies regarding council expectations, and we have a rough draft to present at the next council meeting. So I will get a typewritten copy to Elena and have that ready to go. It ended up to two parts, which we'll share with you and explain why it's in two sections. And then if you have suggestions, then we will try to make revisions and hopefully end up with a project we can use from there.
Thank you. One thing I wanted to say too is I did attend the event, and it really went well, and we had so many people. There was over 100 people there, so for an initial event, I think that's really a great turnout. And I also want to thank Nate Rogers, who personally helped with the tree decorations and donated his time. I can't remember what his business is. Badger maintenance. So that's huge. Another example of somebody from the community volunteering their time and giving back to the community, and it really had a big impact. It really did. We really couldn't have done it the way that we did it without Nate Rogers. So I really want to thank him. And we'll continue working with the community, the chamber, with the school district. Also, the school district had they had carolers at all of the houses on the Christmas walk. I mean, it really was a fabulous, fun weekend last weekend and the other weekend in the city of Milton, and that's something that we can expand on. But we had so many compliments, and we really are the only community that had a bonfire too, and we were the only ones that were out there roasting chestnuts. So I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that. Staff reports, city administrator.
Wrapping up the end of the year, tax bills went out last week, so everybody, if they haven't gotten them by now, looks like you get off free this year. No, just kidding. So wrapping up the end of the year, this staff is in the office for the rest of this week and next week, with the exception of New Year's or Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then the office is closed on January 1st, but we will be there on the 31st of December. Just wrapping it up, and it's been a good year.
Can we pay our taxes here December 31st?
You can drop off your tax bill at Milton City Hall at any time, or your tax payment at any time. And we don't process them at City Hall, but we are taking regular trips to the courthouse. So folks have been coming in and presenting us with a check or dropping it off in the drop box, and then we're taking that to the courthouse to have those processed. Anybody can drop off their payment here, or they can pay it online at any time as well, and that's where you also can review your receipt. So that's the only catch. If you come here and drop it off, you won't get your receipt from you right there. You'll have to go online to get it. But so yes, you can drop off your payment on the 31st of December.
Joint fire, nope. Chief of Police Department.
Provided several updates to public safety tonight. Many of you were there. New program on crime mapping that I'm exploring, and body cameras coming probably first quarter of 2016. Want to publicly thank Quick Trip for their very generous and unexpected donation of $1,000 to the department. I'll be using that to assist in funding the body camera program. So big thanks to them. It was unexpected and very much appreciated. So coming up on the holiday season, and just like to remind everybody out there that to be safe during the holidays with New Year's and such coming up, and designate a driver. So, thanks.
I'm sure if Lauren were here, he would also thank Quick Trip for the $1,000 donation, unexpected donation again from Quick Trip.
Yep. For those of you that weren't able to make it, it was a huge turnout at the Quick Trip ribbon cutting. It was really nice. We got to meet the family owners of the corporation, and there were so many people from the community. It was really nice. So I'm very happy to have been able to be a part of that, and to also thank the council for all the help and the work that they did. And really, Jerry Schutz and former Mayor Brett Frazier put in a lot of work to bring Quick Trip here too. So I mean, it's a community-wide effort, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge what previous councils and previous administrations did. So thank you. City Clerk, Deputy Treasurer.
We're at that time of year again. We've got 3 common council seats that are going to be up for election for the April election. To date, we have Alder Clark has submitted her campaign registration form. Alder Roosh has actually submitted her declaration of non-candidacy, and we have papers. If anybody is interested in running for common council, if you have any questions on how that process works, you can feel free to contact my office, and I will be happy to help you through that.
Thank you. Director of Public Works.
I guess, no snow, no ice. Let's see. Christmas tree collection starts January 1st. So otherwise, not much.
Budget surplus in Public Works.
Yeah.
Thank you for fixing the water main so quickly.
Unexpected.
Along the lines of the unseasonably warm weather, Howie and I have been in discussions off and on about the ice rink and lack thereof. And at this point, it appears as though there may not be an ice rink this year. So cue the Grinch music. That there may not be an ice rink this year, simply because, one, obviously it's just been too warm, but if you don't get that frost in the ground first, it really can it really makes it difficult to keep the ice, and it can become kind of a slushy, muddy mess. So at this point, unless something drastically changes, we may have a year with no ice rink.
But on a positive note, my grass is so green and it's so pretty right now. Yeah.
And the bike trail is still open.
Anything else, Howie? Director of the library.
Yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity as well to thank our volunteers. We probably have close to 50 volunteers throughout the year who give almost 1,000 hours to the library, so we really couldn't do what we do without them, so I want to thank them. We have a teen reading challenge over winter break. Teens who read 400 minutes will earn a free book, new book at the library, and then enter a drawing. So,
Great idea. Finance director, anything?
Nope.
Did we sell something? Anything? No?
Well, you guys approved that. The 1.845 million.
Is anybody interested in buying them?
They're already sold.
All right. Perfect. Municipal court is not here. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay.